Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here, so it's time for the next episode of my series of Old is Better Than New. And in today's video, I thought I'd cover this time an example of an animation company where, in my opinion, their old films are much better than the films we get today, for the most part. This was one of my favourite animated companies of all time, until they really went downhill, in my opinion, since 2019. And this film animation company, of course, is none other than Dreamworks Animation. So, now with regards, of course, to Dreamworks' animated films, I've seen in a vast majority of the 48 films they've made from them so far. And when it comes, of course, to what I think of them, I think the vast majority of the old films are great. So, the company, of course, kicked off with Ants in 1998, which is, in my opinion, a really underrated animated film. It's pretty good. I really liked Ants. It also, as well, started very strong with 2D animated films which I really do miss, because, in my opinion, they were great films, the 2D ones. My personal favourite was The Prince of Egypt. In my opinion, an absolute masterpiece of an animated movie. I also thought The Road to El Dorado was also really good as well, and I wish it got a sequel too as well. I also as well think, when it comes as well to even sequels, it was good too, and even direct-to-video ones too. They also did a prequel to The Prince of Egypt called Joseph, King of Dreams, which I thought was pretty good for a prequel. I thought it was pretty good. And there's also other 2D ones I also love, such as, for example, Spirits Diner Samara, which I definitely really do love as well. Definitely a film that also did not need a sequel either, as I ranted about in my Maybe Didn't Need a Sequel series of videos. My least favourite out of the 2D era was probably Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas. It was still good, but my least favourite when it comes to ranking, of course, for 2D era for DreamWorks. And I also, as well, think DreamWorks also had really great franchises in its old run too as well. For example, my personal favourite franchise DreamWorks have done is probably their trilogy of Kung Fu Panda, because my favourite DreamWorks movie of all time is Kung Fu Panda 2. In my opinion, one of the greatest films ever made. Not just my favourite DreamWorks movie, but in my opinion, one of the best films ever made in general. I love Kung Fu Panda 2. And my trilogy is probably my favourite DreamWorks media of all time. I also, as well, definitely love the Shrek movies as well, for the most part, though, but I still, however, or personally prefer, of course, the first two films in the franchise, before, of course, the third film, which I'm also, unfortunately, not a fan of. That's why I say, for the most part, old DreamWorks is better than new, because of Shrek the Third. I'm not being a fan of that movie, but Shrek 3 after all, in my opinion, was a much better third installment. I like to pretend that's the true Shrek 3, and to me, it's the end of Shrek. When it comes to other old DreamWorks films, which in my opinion are not good though, one that I hate the most is unfortunately Shark Tale from 2004. That's why I say, for the most part, old is better than new for DreamWorks, because of Shark Tale and Shrek the Third. And when it comes to other franchises, I also as well do enjoy Madagascar, as all the four movies about, being a trilogy and a spin-off Penguins Madagascar. I definitely do enjoy that. And there's also plenty of underrated gems in old DreamWorks era too, such as, for example, I definitely really love Flushed Away. Definitely a great film in DreamWorks, absolutely. Definitely, of course, inspired by Aardman's productions for movies. And I also as well definitely love Over a Hedge as well, which is definitely really great too as well. And also as well Monsters vs. Aliens, which is for me an example of film that does deserve a sequel, which I really hope it gets one day. I also love others too, for example, Megamind, and also How to Train Your Dragon trilogy as well. I also thought Rise of Guardians was pretty good as well. I saw that in cinema. I thought it was pretty good. I also thought The Croods was also okay as well, in my opinion too. It was decently good in my opinion. I also definitely really like Mr. Peabody and Sherman as well. And I also definitely also like Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. When it comes to films I just thought were just mediocre, in my opinion, I was not really a fan of Turbo that much. It felt like a rip-off of Cars, but with Snails as the main characters. And it was just mediocre, in my opinion. Not terrible, but just mediocre. I also was not really a fan of Home either very much. Yeah, that movie I'm not a fan of at all, to be honest. And I forget a lot about it. I also, as well, couldn't care less about Trolls either, because I did see the first two films of that franchise, and I couldn't care less about the franchise at all, especially the second movie. And I also personally was not really a fan of the B movie that much either, mainly because the main character was just so unlikable in that movie. But the movie was just mediocre in my opinion, if we ignore the main character, that is. And speaking of Armand Productions, who I mentioned before, they also as well made two films which were actually released by Dreamworks, being of course Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit. Because even though Dreamworks didn't make those, it was Armand, they still released them. And I also definitely love those films too. They're also really great too as well for Armand movies. Armand do a great job making a stop motion, absolutely. And if you guys were to ask me, of course, what my thoughts on The Boss Baby, I have not seen that movie at all, apart from maybe one or two scenes when I came into a living room one day to see my brother was watching it on DVD, and upon seeing it, I flat out hated it, and I instead went back to my room to continue my marathon of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because The Boss Baby looks absolutely terrible from just the one scene alone I saw of it. So I did not bother watching that movie. When it comes to current day Dreamworks 4, I'd say that it's unfortunately really hit hard times. Because, in my opinion, the last great film we got from Dreamworks was How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. That, in my opinion, was the last great one by Dreamworks. Because after that, we of course got a film called Abominable released in the same year. I did see that film, and I just thought it was a bit mediocre in my opinion. It wasn't good, to be completely honest, and it wasn't really worth watching either, to be completely honest. Like, if you guys would ask me, is it worth watching? My response is, no, it isn't. Sadly, however, in the following year, we got two films by Dreamworks, which were unfortunately both unnecessary sequels, one of which was a sequel to Trolls called Trolls World Tour, and I saw it on Netflix, and in my opinion, it was trash, because not only was it a sequel that was not needed to a film I wasn't even a fan of in the first place, it was a very bad rip-off of Avengers Infinity War. Like, upon spotting the similarities, I face-palmed like crazy because there were so many similarities. It was unreal how much it copied Infinity War, and that's why I hated the movie. They also as well did a sequel to A Cruise called The Cruise New Age. I also hated that as well. That was also rubbish in my opinion. The Cruise didn't need a sequel either. But in 2021, we also got a sequel to Spirit, a spin-off sequel called Spirit Untamed. And what's the dumb is, you've got to watch a Netflix show to understand what's going on with this film. And I did try to watch the show, guys, but after 10 seconds, I switched it off because it was terrible. The animation sucked. I think Spirit's a massive example of when translating from 2D to 3D goes horribly wrong. Because I did see Spirit Untamed and I hated it. I thought it was trash in my opinion. Like, it absolutely sucked compared to the first one that I definitely really love. We also as well got a sequel to Boss Baby, which I didn't bother with at all because I have no interest in seeing the first movie. We did of course also get as well The Bad Guys, which I did see. I thought it was just decently good in my opinion. Not a best Dreamworks movie, but still good. And I hope it does get a sequel very soon, because it is confirmed to have a sequel in development. Just hope it's good, because that's probably the best thing we've got since How to Train Your Dragon: Hidden World in my opinion. We of course also got Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And personally, guys, I'm not interested in seeing that film either, because in my opinion, the first Puss in Boots movie did not need a sequel to begin with. And also, if you guys are going to ask me, didn't it settle a sequel at the end? My response is yes, Shrek 2, because Puss in Boots is a prequel to Shrek 2. So that's why I like to pretend that all the sequel I can accept, of course, to Puss in Boots, of course, is Shrek 2. And also, I also didn't like how he made it a continuation after Shrek Forever After, because I've already made it clear that Shrek Forever After to me is the end of Shrek. And not to mention as well, the ending, of course, was also setting up a fifth movie of Shrek from what I heard about, so that made me really angry. And what's also worse is, they confirmed a fifth movie, which I am absolutely furious about, because Shrek Forever After, as far as I'm concerned, is the end. It gave a phenomenal ending to a franchise. And not to mention, and as well, the marketing for a film called it Final Chapter is called out for a reason, because it's the end of Shrek. So, the fact that they set up a fifth movie at the end of The Last Wish, and then they actually confirmed it, makes me so angry. So, do not expect me to watch The Last Wish or the fifth movie anytime soon. No chance. I'll stick to the Shrek films I love, being, Shrek 1 and 2 and Forever After, and also the first Puss in Boots movie. Then with regards to the rest of Dreamworks, I also don't care less about it. Like, I don't care about Teenage Kraken, because I saw a trailer for it looked rubbish. Trolls band together. I don't care about a franchise, so I didn't bother with that. They also as well did a sequel to Chicken Run called Chicken Run Dawn of a Nugget, which I had no interest in seeing at all, because in my opinion Chicken Run did not need a sequel to begin with. And when I heard they were recasting the vast majority of the characters, I was furious. So I didn't bother with that movie. I'll stick to the first movie when it comes to Chicken Run. I'm also not interested in Orion and the Dark either. And then also what's worse is, they also did a sequel to Kung Fu Panda 3. When I heard they were making that film, I was absolutely furious, because 3, in my opinion, was the perfect ending to that franchise. To me, it's the end of a perfect trilogy. So I was so livid when they announced a 4th movie. But thankfully, of course, I heard it didn't really get much good reviews, so you know what, good is what it deserves to be made in the first place. So I'm not going to bother watching that, but apparently they're making a 5th and 6th movie, which I couldn't care less, but I'll stick to a trilogy. Then also as well, in terms of the direct-to-video sequels, or prequels even, it's also hard times when it comes to Megamind, because they actually had the guts to make a direct-to-video sequel to Megamind. And that made me really angry when they made a sequel to Megamind, because the film, in my opinion, was perfect on its own, and the only continuation I can accept is a short film that comes with the first movie, the short film, which is a continuation. Before I did a sequel in the first place, makes me really angry, but thankfully, of course, it was panned on release by critics and got lots of negative reviews, so good. It's what it deserves to be made in the first place. So, long story short, guys, as far as I'm concerned, Dreamworks, for the most part, in my opinion, was much better in the old than the new, and nowadays I will happily stick to the films I love in the franchise. I've already said in my videos on films that deserve sequels about films that do deserve them, you know, like Monsters vs. Aliens, and also Bad Guys, and Road to El Dorado. I'll only watch for sequels if they get good reviews from people, you know, that I know who of course, watch movies, who I can trust to believe them to watch a movie, of course, and say a word on it. Hopefully I'll enjoy it too, of course, if I say the word on it, of course, but yeah, we'll see. But all I can say is that, in my opinion, for the most part, old Dreamworks is much better than new, and I'll stick to that as far as I'm concerned. With regards to TV shows, I'll stick to the good Kung Fu Panda shows, which they of course made as well before this 4th movie, and also that show I heard, which was on Netflix, which I heard got really bad reviews, and it masked Paul's character. And with regards as well to other original stuff by Dreamworks, I'll also one day watch Troll Hunters by Guillermo del Toro, because I heard things about that show. I'll give it a watch one day, see what I think of it. But as far as I'm concerned, Dreamworks, in my opinion, for the most part, is much better than old than the new. So, you know, drill, guys, be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys think of Dreamworks, between old, better, and new. What do you think in the comments below? Also, be sure to join Team Prime, pressing subscribe videos to come in the future, and I'll see you all later.